All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of PWTB. You guys can see I'm back home from college, back at my home place. I wish that it was summer weather, but I'm on summer vacation, so we'll take that right now. Jake, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great, and we've got a guest. We've got Cade Nix. He's kind enough to come on the show. Cade, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be on here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. Jake, you wanted to, so we wanted to dive in because obviously I did a post draft NFL draft recap right after the draft. It was like 11 p.m. right after that. Just my initial takeaways, but now that we've had a little bit time to, sort of deep dive in rounds 2, 3 and the draft finished up, do a little more of a deep dive into it. So Jake, I guess where do you want to start with?
Yeah, let's start at the top. The absolute shocker, the Atlanta Falcons taking Michael Penix at number 8. Evan, what do you make of that, man?
So yeah, so again, it still makes sense, right? With take you develop the quarterback of the future. We've seen this with the Packers, for example. We've seen this a lot when they took Aaron Rodgers and when they took Jordan Love. It doesn't mean Penix is going to start right away. He could sit 3 years like both of those quarterbacks did. I have a hard time believing that. I think the pressure is going to amount on Kirk Cousins. I don't think the Falcons are the Packers, and they're going to panic a little more as soon as Kirk Cousins maybe loses a playoff game or does this or that, and everyone's gonna be calling for Penix. So again, I said this draft night, and I'm sticking to that. It depends what the plan is. It seems like the Falcons had no plan. It's like, oh my gosh, Penix has a really good arm. We got to take him. We got to rush and take him. And that's and Penix does have a good arm. I could see Penix being the best quarterback in this class. I mean, if you watched him at Washington, just so natural with his throwing motion. Yes, I know it didn't finish up well with the national championship, but he could be better than Caleb Williams. He could be better than Jaden Daniels. He could be better than any of them. It's just, are the Falcons going to rush him? What's the plan? There's already beef. Kirk Cousins is not happy. Who's to say he's going to be the mentor? So I just don't know what Caden. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. What do you think the Falcons have a plan? Because I don't. I think they just saw some talent, but they kind of panicked a little bit.
Yeah. So when this pick was originally made, it confused me, but as I've heard more and more about it, I think it makes less and less sense. So they went through all the pre-combine stuff. They went through the combine. They saw him at the Senior Bowl, and then they decided to go out and get. I mean, they must have had an astronomical grade on this guy, and then they still went out and got the very top of the free agents, which doesn't make any sense. So if you're already looking at Penix and you think that he could be your guy, there's no need to go get the very top of the free agents list like they did. And then, people want to compare it to the Packers situation, but I don't see it as anything like the Packers. Aaron Rodgers played there for a decade. Brett Favre played there for a decade. They had the city behind him. They had everyone behind him. So as soon as Kirk Cousins goes in and he has a bad drive, maybe having a bad throw, people are going to be calling for Penix to come and take the reins. And the rest of their team is all young. Penix is going to hang with the young guys. It doesn't make a lot of sense chemistry wise. I don't think the Falcons had a plan there. I think they kind of just had such a high grade on Penix they didn't want to pass it up, but it still doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, and Jake, we'll get you in here for a second. Like just to build on that, I think like because Raheem Morris is the coach for Atlanta now, right?
Right.
Yeah, and this is his second stint. He was with the Buccaneers like 10 years ago. It didn't go so well. He's playing for his job. Like when the Packers also took, they took Aaron Rodgers and they took Jordan Love. You had Mike McCarthy there who is who his job was pretty much locked in. And you have Matt LaFleur right now who's been excellent. His record is great. Who's locked in. These are coaches locked in. Raheem Morris is playing for his job. As soon as if Kirk Cousins doesn't play well, then the pressure is on him to perform. So he's not looking out for a rookie quarterback. He's looking out for his own job. So no, there's the organizational competence is just not the same. But again, it's going to be interesting because Kirk Cousins is very talented and Penix is very talented too. So it's not like they're scrubs doing it out. It's talent, but can they put all the pieces together? But Jake, weigh in on this.
Yeah, I don't think drafting Michael Penix at 8, I don't think gives the Falcons a clear path because, like Cade said, they went out and got the top of the free agent market. quarterback wise in Kirk Cousins, signing him to a 3-year deal with a lot of money, and then where is Michael Penix? Michael Penix gonna sit for 2 years? He gonna sit for 3 years until Kirk Cousins' contract is up? I mean, what's going on there? I don't think the Falcons have a clear plan on what they want to do with that.
So I want to switch gears a little bit. My biggest winners after taking a little bit of time and looking at the draft, I think is the teams who are good, who improve their defense substantially. I think you look at the Eagles, they traded up, they got the kid from Toledo, right? Quinion Mitchell. I believe so.
Yeah.
And then the Lions traded up. They get their cornerback of the future in Terry Arnold from Alabama. Is that one right too?
The Lions got Terry and Arnold traded
Yeah,
back up.
Lions got Terry Arnold, and the Eagles
Yeah.
picked Quinion Mitchell first in Toledo, who I suspected because everyone was saying at the pro day and all that he was the star. Those are my biggest winners because those are two teams who are right on the cusp. Obviously, the Eagles were a cup in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. The Lions almost made the Super Bowl, and I think they substantially improved their defenses, specifically their secondary, which was the biggest glaring issue. But I guess, Cade, after kind of taking a look back, who do you think were at least some of the biggest winners of the first round?
Yeah, like you said, I love the Lions, and especially their trade in. You know, they jumped the Packers, who probably have been eyeing Arnold for a while. They need help in the secondary, so jumping a division rival and grabbing who was my top corner in the draft, I love that there. And I also love the Steelers in later rounds. They got guys like Peyton Wilson, Roman Wilson, and then Troy Fautanu at 20 is a great value. But I think the Steelers had overall the best value in the draft across all the rounds. But when you're specifically talking about the first round, you kind of got to look at the Bears. Of course, the Cardinals did a great job. They got two phenomenal guys. I love Darius Robinson there with the 27th pick. But yeah, like you said, the Lions had a great one. And then those teams that had multiple picks, they nailed all their picks to me.
Yeah, I think my biggest winner in the first round was the Chicago Bears. I think drafting Caleb Williams at number one, getting your franchise quarterback, or who at least who they think is their franchise quarterback. We'll see how Caleb Williams plays in the NFL. Um, and then getting Romo Dunze at number nine, at number was it 9 or 10,
Nine.
Evan?
Yep.
At
Nine.
number nine, so Caleb Williams to throw to that is an elite duo, I think. Hey, I want to ask you, uh, what, since I'm a Dolphins fan, what is your thoughts on who my team selected, Chop Robinson, in the first round?
I was actually really high on Chop. I had him over Latu, which is something that not a lot of other scouts had. But Robinson was my third edge off the board behind Verse and Arnold. And so I thought they got great value there at 21. Um, and I think they filled a semi need. I mean, when you look at the Dolphins, they don't have a lot of weaknesses on paper. When you look at their roster, they could have opted for, maybe interior there. But Chop Robinson is a great player, and I love the pick.
I think
Jackson Powers Johnson, maybe, from
one
Oregon?
weakness would be Tua's arm. I'm just kidding, Jake. What were you saying?
I was just asking Kate, Jackson Powers Johnson from Oregon, maybe?
That would have been an option. I wouldn't have been surprised to see, but I wasn't a fan of his as much as other people. I think Graham Barton is better than him, and I would have liked that pick more. And that's what I had in my final mock. Um, but yeah, I mean, you couldn't go wrong with any of those guys, Barton, Jackson Powers, or Chop, which they ended up doing.
Kate, I got two more questions for you. Number one, just was there, so we talked about great picks. Was there any reaches that popped out to you, at least in the first round, or maybe just throughout the draft? Anything that kind of struck you as like, whoa, that was little too much?
Yeah, aside from of Penix, like we talked about, I mean, I feel like most of the first round guys I kind of expected. I think the one that we're looking at, maybe Xavier Legette and Ricky Purcell at the bottom half of the first round. I do think that there were better receivers on the board for those guys to target. And then maybe Jordan Morgan to the Packers. I like some other tackles ahead of him, but the Packers, I would have opted for Cooper DeJean there or Nate Wiggins, who was still on the board. I think secondary is their biggest need, and they opted for a tackle that I wouldn't necessarily say was their biggest need. But the 49ers, I like Purcell and I like the fit there. I don't think it was their biggest need, but again, when you're the 49ers, you can kind of have fun with the draft. And then the Panthers taking Xavier Legette. I mean, they obviously need helpers with receiver. It wasn't a bad pick. It wasn't a great A+ pick in my opinion, but those are just some of the ones that stuck out to me.
I totally agree with Pearsall going to San Francisco. I don't with Kyle Shanahan. I know they like to do all those jet sweeps and all that, and he kind of fits into that. But you already have Debo Samuel, already have Christian McCaffrey. For
Right.
now, you have Ayuk. Like I don't understand that for the life of me. Really quick before I ask my second question, I know Jake is a big fan of Xavier Legette. I want to give you a chance to respond, Jake. What do you think about that being a reach?
Yeah, I think that Xavier Legette actually keeps to Carolina. I mean, I feel like it wasn't so much of a reach. I feel like it was more of filling a need for the Panthers. The Panthers really need everything. But wide receiver is a good spot to start. And Xavier Legette is just explosive. We've seen it with Spencer Rattler, without Spencer Rattler at South Carolina. So I'm a disagree. I think Xavier Legette's a great pick at 32.
So he's like
Great value.
230 pounds. He runs like a 4.3. The talent is there, but I also see what I kind of also see like why like because there were so many. The Keon Coleman was still on the board. Adonai Mitchell was still on the board. Like I see what you're talking about though, kid. Just the last one I wanted to ask about. And this is not really a draft question. Jake asked the Dolphins question. I'm a Titans fan, so I want to see what you think on Will Levis because we take J.C. Latham. I think that was a really good pick at 7, by the way, because obviously Joe Alt wasn't available. We take next best available offensive lineman. You're talking about a 6'6" lineman, weighs like 330 pounds. I think we're going to be okay there from, oh, and by the way, coached by Nick Saban too. So you've got that. We're building the receivers. I think Calvin Ridley's now our number one. DeAndre Hopkins is our number two. He doesn't have quite the speed he used to, but the catchability is still there. You pay Ridley, he's number one. You got Tyler Boyd now is number three. And then we still have Traylon Burks number as our fourth receiver, who was a first round pick 2 years ago. Obviously hasn't lived up to expectations, but you never know. And then Tony Pollard in the backfield. What do you feel on Levis, and what do you think as a Titans fan we should like expect to see from him this year in year two? Like what would be a good season?
Yeah, I think I actually love Will Levis. I liked him coming out of the draft last year. I had him ahead of Richardson, but I was a fan of his, and I like what the Titans are doing. They're building together a good team. They went and got some guys in free agency. I love the Boyd pickup. I think that was a great one that no one's really talking about. But now I think that they've kind of given Will Levis not many excuses. So they've gone out there and they've given him the tools. They just need him to perform, and I think he showed plenty of flashes last year. I don't think he'll have a problem doing it. But I do think that they're giving him a reason not to, or no reason to fail. So they're expecting a lot from him this year. I can tell by the way that they're loading him up. And then J.C. Latham, like you said, was a great pick, giving him some extra protection. But um, I mean, it's a tough division that they're in now. I think it's a four-way race. But I think they just need Willis to take that next step and show more of what he can do in year two.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be a really competitive division. But anyways,
Yeah,
Kate.
I just
Oh yeah, one more. Jake, go ahead.
yeah, I have one more question for you, if I may. I just wanted to ask you. I know you said you love Will Levis.
hmm
I just wanted to ask you because I had Will Levis at quarterback number 2 coming out of college last year. Do you think that is a reach for Levis at 2, or do you think that's
No, I had the
because
same
I had
thing. I had Levis at 2 as well. The only one I missed on was Stroud. I had him at my 3. And then obviously Bryce Young, but quarterbacks is by far the hardest position to kind of evaluate. So I don't hang my head too low on when I miss on quarterbacks.
yeah, I had CJ Stroud at 1 and Bryce Young at 3 behind Levis. Um, so
Yeah, and then the
There we
narrative,
go.
like they locked it in.
Yeah.
Like, the media and everything, they locked it in. Bryce Young's got to be the number one pick. He is, and we'll see what.
oh yeah,
But it's not over by far. But we'll have to see what happens there. But anyways, Cade, thank you so much for coming on. We're gonna
no,
go to break, but we really appreciate your NFL insight. And like you said with draft picks, we just got to wait and see what hits and what we were wrong about. But that's the fun of it. So thanks for coming on,
Oh,
Kate.
yeah.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys.
So me and Jake were looking, by the way, welcome back from break. Me and Jake were looking at some houses recently. And everyone talks about the housing market. You got to pay 350,000 for something not that special, maybe 450,000. But what if you could just pay 12K for a house? What if you can pay 19K? Well, Amazon is offering that. If you go on Amazon and I kid you not, look this up, look up Amazon like 12K house or something like that. You can get a house that has two bedrooms. It has just enough space to walk around. You have a tiny, tiny kitchen. I looked at the design. You've got a nice shower. The shower looks nice and the bedrooms look nice, but everything else is tiny, tiny. But you got the kitchen and the living space. So it's not all for naught. My biggest problem, and I told Jake, and first of all, you could just order this. Like I looked and it said you could order this to your house or wherever. Um,
Yeah.
but
Take
my
like two
biggest,
months to get here, but
yeah, oh, it'd take 2 months. How did you figure that one out?
yeah. So if you go on Amazon and you search up the house, it says order now can arrive by I believe
Like sometime in July then?
yeah, sometime in July. It said so oh no, I'm wrong. Actually it says no, I'm wrong. Sorry. It will arrive um May 31st through so the end of this month. So
May
less than a month.
Yeah,
Less than a whole month.
May 31st. So, okay, so you could get your house in less than a month. The biggest problem, so you just order it straight from Amazon. The biggest problem, though, that we saw is you need land. Like, you can't just put it in like
Yeah.
a Walmart parking lot. Obviously, that's not going to work. But you buy land, which I can't imagine, like, you go out to the farm fields or whatever, you purchase whatever. I don't know how all that works out particularly. I can't imagine that's that expensive, not 35, 350K expensive, and you have a house to live in. So I don't know. Would you, Jake?
I mean, you do have to put it together yourself.
Hmm.
You do have to basically build that house yourself.
You could pay someone to do it though, an expert though. But
You could, but then you also have to pay for plumbing and electricity. So you have to pay a plumber and electricity. So is it worth 12K and paying an electrician and a plumber? You look at it, it's still it's still less expensive than maybe the 200,000 or 300,000 you're going to spend on houses today. $12,000 is a lot cheaper.
you could pay a
So
lot,
for
but
me, I would.
I guess also, do you really want to live in a farm field in the middle of nowhere in a house that does not have that much space?
Yeah.
Again, unless you really want to move out of your parents' house or you really like living in remote areas, then I guess. But I guess we should. But that is one more thing on this. That is what it is though. Like housing is expensive because the houses are so big. Um, so there's some truth to that too. But all right, so let's moving on. Oh, Paul Skeens is getting called up for the Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And this is big, and I want Jake to weigh in on this, but this is big because he in 27 innings in the minor leagues this year in AAA, he has a 0.99 ERA, which is insanely good. I know 27 innings isn't a lot, but still. And then he has 45 strikeouts, so he's averaging almost two strikeouts an inning. And he is coming up, and this is like Steven Strasburg, if we remember when the Nationals called him up, that was a huge deal. This is like Chris Sale. This is like all of it because he was drafted less than a year ago, and now he's gonna be like the star pitcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates. But Jake, what you see from all this?
Yeah, this is like when Mike Trout made his major league debut. This is like when you were talking about Steven Strasburg making his major league debut. This is like Ronald Acuna Jr. making his MLB debut.
I remember that.
Everyone's excited to see Paul Skeens up here. Mostly because his fastball pop usually averages about 101 miles an hour. Um, they just want to see a pitcher throw gas, and I get that. So we'll see that. Slanted actually make his major league debut tonight. I believe it was Friday.
I checked yesterday. I don't know if they changed it. Yesterday it was. Is he starting in the bullpen? I take it, or is he starting?
He should be a starter.
Okay, because sometimes like that's what we did with Sale. So when the White Sox got Sale, so we drafted him in 2010, and this probably would never happen nowadays. But we called him up in 2010, but as a reliever, and he didn't start until 2 years later. But nowadays they might start Skeens right away. He has this stuff. The only thing is the pitch count. You want to watch the pitch count with someone as electric as that. He's going to be pitching 80 to 90 pitches a game. He's not going to get up to 100 because you really want to ease him into it and not ease him into Tommy John. So that's one thing.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm sorry. Parsons is actually supposed to make his major league debut on May 11th, which is Saturday
so
against the
tomorrow.
Chicago Cubs. But
Okay.
he is facing Justin Fields, so
So Paul Skeens against if he stays with the Pirates, the rival Chicago Cubs, big moment.
yeah.
The Cubs think they're all that this year. If you can go mow them down like Dylan Cease did earlier this week, that would really put those Cubbies' egos at check. But no, I can't. I'm gonna tune into that one. I can't wait to watch that. Yeah. Let's talk some NHL playoffs. We got to take a break here in a few minutes, but let's talk some NHL playoffs. So Carolina Hurricanes, what is going on? So they're down 3-0. Most of the last week I was checking the betting odds. They were the favorite to win the entire thing. They're down 3-0. Jake, what the heck is going on with Carolina right now?
Yeah, I think Carolina just ran into a wall basically uh, with the Rangers in the second round. I think they had an easy go with the Islanders in the second round, but I think they've basically just run into a wall with Igor Shesterkin in this field.
Yeah.
And, I don't think I see the Rangers, maybe because the Rangers are slated to play the winner of the Boston Florida series, obviously, which I hope. I hope it's my Panthers, but we'll see. We'll see how that series goes. Game three is tonight. Yeah, I think the Rangers are a team to be in the Eastern Conference.
So yeah, in the Western, it seems like it's a little more up for grabs. Colorado got an upset series win over Winnipeg, but not really upset because we all know Colorado is good and they won they
Yeah,
won 2 years ago. So they're going to be a force in the West, and Golden Knights are just eliminated. That was a very nice series by the Dallas Stars. I give them credit for that. They played tremendous defense, tremendous goalie play. But so let's talk about the East. Let's talk about that. That's a huge series, Boston and Florida right now. Boston pulled way away in game one. Florida pulled way away in game two. Who's going to make the defensive stand? That's what I want to know. Yeah.
yeah. Game three is tonight. Sergei Bobrovsky played during the first round against Tampa Bay. Obviously winning the series in finals. Um, Jeremy Swayman was actually pulled in game two, so we'll see who gets the start tonight. They're probably going to go back to Swayman, but we'll see. Um, the Panthers just got to throw everything they have at Jeremy Swayman. Um, and then the Panthers. Verhage, Reinhardt, and Bennett coming back. No, Matthew Tkachuk, Alexander Barkov. We'll see what the Panthers have tonight.
All right. When we come back, we will be wrapping up the show. Stay tuned.
So Evan, WMA star, by the way, welcome back to PWTB, guys. By the way, so Evan, WMA star Caitlin Clark, who was drafted number 1 overall out of Michigan. The Indiana Fever start their season on Tuesday. 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock against. See who they're playing. So against the Connecticut Sun. So 7:30. My apologies. So Caitlin scored 21 points in her first preseason game and 12 points last night against the Atlanta Dream in both preseason games that the Indiana Fever actually won. So Evan, I just wanted to get. I'm sorry, they lost to the Wings, so they ended the preseason 1-1. But Evan, I wanted to get your thoughts on: do you think Caitlin Clark is going to underperform or overperform in her first game as a WNBA player? first
So
regular season game.
first of all, I just want to give a shout out to Prize Picks. They have Caitlin Clark at half a point for Tuesday. So if you're really confident, and Prize Picks, by the way, is a daily fantasy, so you have to bet at least one other square. But if you're feeling very confident in Caitlin, obviously that she'll get a half a point and another square, go make a lot of money. So Caitlin Clark Tuesday, go make a lot of money. Second of all, she's scored 21 points and 12 points in both of her preseason games. 21 points in a preseason game. Now, I know that was her first preseason game, and she was probably trying to show out a little bit, and the team probably wanted to expose her a little bit, and that's how preseason works. It's a little more for the show, right? But that's still pretty dang good for preseason. And I was looking at some ESPN because there's 12 teams in the WNBA, and the Indiana Fever were the worst team in the league. Obviously, that's why they drafted Caitlin Clark, and in 2023 they had the number one overall pick too. So you have that, and so they've been a very bad team. Figures are they should be ranked at 12, but they're ranked at 8 right now just because of the talent of Caitlin Clark and the young talent they've amassed. All credit to that. 8 out of 12. So that's probably just missing the playoffs. I don't know how they do playoffs quite in WNBA. Do you know, Jake?
Um, I believe it's the top. I believe it's the top four teams in this conference.
Okay, so on the outside looking in on the playoffs. But
Yeah.
however, I think when it's all said and done this season, I think the Indiana Fever, because of Caitlin Clark's presence, will be better than 8 for sure. I'm not saying they're gonna win the whole thing this year. I think Caitlin Clark will deliver them a championship eventually. But her presence in the WNBA is they're talented athletes, and I think especially in this huge draft class that we just saw. I mean, you've got Angel Reese, who is a stellar player. You've got girls from all over the country, from Stanford, UConn, not just the southern area, just stellar players coming into the league. I think it's going to be the WNBA is getting more talented, but it's still not quite the most talented league out there. And I think when you add a superstar like Caitlin Clark, you can go worse to playoffs. So if they snuck in as the fourth team, I would not be surprised at all. And I'm going to make that my prediction. The Indiana Fever will sneak into the playoffs because of Caitlin Clark's presence. But yeah, it's gonna be really something to watch. And I'm excited to see. That's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. I think the Indiana Fever will be in the playoffs because of Caitlin Clark. So I agree with Evan here.
yeah, and just one more thing I want to touch on before we get wrapping up the show this week. Actually, a couple ridiculous things. So, toxic masculinity is the trait of the day once again, and PWTB is going to break that down. So, I actually have two things. I told Jake one thing. I've got two things I want to break down. So, number one, I've seen on Instagram, and I've told my mom, and I told a couple other people this, is this new trend I saw, or not even a trend, like this saying, and it's like these alpha influencers who say if you have a jersey on your back. So Jake, you're rocking Tua Tagovailoa, right? You're
Yeah.
rocking
Yeah.
you're rocking Spencer Knight for the Florida Panthers. You're
Yeah.
just having a good time. Did you know you're a beta male because of that? Did you know that?
I did know that. I have actually seen that before. I have seen that before, and that is a saying that's been going on for a while, actually. It's like you, if you're an adult wearing another adult's name on your back, that's weird.
It's so ridiculous.
I,
No, not just weird. You're less of a man because of that. You're less of a man because I listen. I'll let them I could break down step by step why this is wrong or why this is all this, but it's ridiculous. What this clothing that you buy? It's overpriced clothing, and it's actually memorable. These people don't notice that it's memorabilia. Trading cards, have been around forever. Do you know how much a trading card in the 80s is worth now? Hundreds and hundreds of dollars. What do you think the jerseys are going to be worth in, say, 2040 or 2050? Hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So, number one, it's memorabilia. But number two, it's just what these people don't seem to understand. It's fun. People want to have fun in their life. So, you know what? If I'm a little bit less of a man because of that, so be it. But I'm going to rock my DeAndre Hopkins jersey this coming season because my Titans are going to kill it.
yeah,
So
you know what? I'm gonna rock my Matthew Tkachuk jersey because my Panthers are in the playoffs. So
But literally every person I've told this to in real life, and you got to remember, real life versus online, different things. They've laughed out loud. They don't understand this at all. And then the other thing, so this guy named Andy Elliott, right? I've seen him on my Instagram. He runs car sales, and I'm gonna call him out by name. He runs car sales, and I listen. He's made it. I've heard in his past he's had some past troubles with the law, so I'm not gonna treat him as like some great hero or anything. But he's made money and he's made it, and he's made millions, and he's got a really nice house. If you check it, Andy Elliott on Instagram, if you check him out. But he said, and he has all these things, were these things. But one thing I thought was interesting, another alpha, I guess, trait is he says, if you don't have a six pack, you're not going to work for him. And again, it's his company; he can set whatever rules he wants. But if you look into his videos, it's just more toxic stuff. Again, I don't have anything super wrong with this, but Jake, what do you think about that though? Like, do you think force is the best way to break through to people? Because I'm not so sure, to be honest.
Like making people have a six pack to come look for you.
Right.
No,
Again,
I think that
I'm not saying he needs to take it down right now. It's his company. He can set whatever he wants.
yeah.
But if you look further into his videos, he talks about all habits. Drinking is bad. Any sort of fun is bad. Your friends are bad. You need to cut them all off. Like so you take what these guys do. And Ben Shapiro said this best. They take one thing, one true thing, that if you're healthy and you're not fat, you're gonna look better and be more impressive. That's true, but then they use it to pile on all this other garbage, like your friends are trash and all this, which is why, again, what I don't know what the nicer way is, but there's got to be a nicer way than that, right?
Oh yeah, there's gotta be a nicer way than that. So I think I agree with you. He doesn't have to take it down right now. It's his company. He can do whatever he wants. He can regulate whatever he wants out of his employees. I just think that if you go on too long about that, I think that it becomes, unfair to people who don't have a six pack, who want a job, who have experience in car sales, who wants to make money.
Right.
And I think that,
I've
you know,
seen him. I haven't seen him do bench press, but it looks like he does quite a bit of maybe he takes a little bit of a shot, so to speak. Alex Rodriguez could tell you a little more about that. But you know what? Again, his life. So we'll go with that. But all right, that's gonna wrap it up from PWTB this week. Jake, it was a pleasure as always, and I'm looking forward to a summer of episodes. But yeah, thanks for hopping back on
so
today.
yeah, always. Hey, Evan, you are coming down here next week, so
Oh yeah, that's
assuming we're
a
doing the
guys.
show
Should
here next
if
week.
you watched all the way through, please comment what you if because I'm going to be down in Georgia visiting my buddy Jake next week. If you watched all the way through, please comment something you'd like to see from us because I don't we're not going to do a main show, but if you want a funny video, we'll put together a funny video. So if you did watch all the way through, put something and we'll make it happen. Um,
Yeah.
but
All
yeah,
right, we'll see you guys later.
we'll see you guys next time.